Hi, it's Bob Hoopsher, and this is the Gaining Perspective podcast, where we bring you insightful conversations with some of the top thought leaders in the investment advisor profession and investment management industry. I am the founder and CEO of Advisor Perspectives. In September, WisdomTree announced its first blockchain-enabled fund, the WisdomTree Short-Term Treasury Digital Fund, symbol WTSY. The fund brings a mainstream traditional asset, U.S. Treasury bonds, into the digital ecosystem to unlock use cases and distribution opportunity. Jarrett Lilien, President and COO of WisdomTree, is here to discuss the why behind this fund and what it means for as traditional asset management moves to the blockchain. And we'll also discuss the company's upcoming blockchain native app, which is called WisdomTree Prime, the company's strategy on crypto and blockchain-enabled finance, and why Jarrett believes the future of the asset management industry is in blockchain-enabled finance. Jarrett Lilien is President and Chief Operating Officer at WisdomTree, an exchange-traded fund and exchange-traded product sponsor and asset manager. He is a well-known and respected leader in the financial services industry who has built industry-transforming businesses utilizing emerging technology and operational excellence. He brings a deep industry experience in both the retail and institutional markets. And Jared and I did a podcast in August that talked about why WisdomTree has been so successful in gathering assets. We'll include a link to that podcast in the notes that accompany this one in case anyone wants to listen to that. But Jared, let's jump in here. The SEC recently approved your WisdomTree Short-Term Treasury Digital Fund. What does that mean, and why is it important?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me back. Let me step back for a second and just talk about WisdomTree. At the core of what we do, the way we approach the business, we're not really in the ETF business. We're in the business of providing best structured access to various asset classes. So our mission is to make hard to access and hard to trade things easy to access and easy to trade. We do believe, with that being sort of our approach, that ETFs are today's best structure, but our vision is that the digital wrapper is the next evolution in asset management and possibly the next step change in all of financial services. So with all of that as background, this SEC approval is a huge milestone. It was something that was nearly 4 years in the making. And it's really tangible proof that our vision's becoming a reality. For us, it's important. And it's important for us, and it's also important for the end customer. But for us, it's important because it's really that first brick in the foundation that allows us to own the deepest exposures in the next evolution in asset management. But it also enables us to be the first mover in blockchain-enabled finance, which is, I think, a big story. For consumers, this is also very important because it leads to significantly better experiences, a better customer experience, but also significantly better financial outcomes. So, very simple, maybe subtle, but big implications.
Well, you mentioned digital currencies, and I also noticed that the SEC recently rejected your latest spot Bitcoin ETF proposal. What was the significance of that?
Part of the significance is if at first you don't succeed, try again. But let me point out, first of all, that our SEC approval of the short-term Treasury digital fund was for a digital fund, and that's about the future. Where we got kicked back was on our application for a spot Bitcoin ETF. So that's really about the present. So you really need to distinguish between the two products. Again, with our approach on best structure, what we'd applied for was a spot Bitcoin ETF. There are Bitcoin ETFs in the market, but they're futures based. And we think that's actually an inferior structure, that spot is the best structured. And so that's what we're going to stick to. And the SEC isn't ready for that yet. But the significance, and this is also very important, is that you've got to work with the regulators. If any of this is going to become mainstream, you got to go through the front door. And, our approach and one of our strengths is working with regulators about best structure, about how to get those in the proper regulatory framework. And that contrasts with a lot of the newcomers that are trying to avoid regulation. You've even got others out there that have been in the news like Grayscale. They're actually trying to sue the SEC to get approval. We don't believe that's the way to go. Regulation's a key component. Regulators take time. They need to do their due diligence. So we're spending that time, and we'll commit and we'll do what the work, and we'll eventually get all of this in the best structure that the SEC also likes.
Why do you think the spot structure is better than something based on the futures market?
Well, you just think of the nature of futures. They're going to underperform spot always. And so when you have the choice of a product that can outperform another one just by virtue of its structure, we're going to always opt for the better one. And it is interesting. I will say, a little sort of inside baseball, when the futures-based one got approved, I got a little upset with our team internally. And I said, well, why didn't we cover our bases and apply for both? Because that way, we would have covered our bases. And the answer I got back was usually the one I start with is yes, but we're in the business of best structured access, and futures isn't it. And so I was like, okay, you're right. So that is why, and spot is just better than a futures product.
We're talking about both crypto and blockchain enabled finance. Can you just differentiate those two disciplines and why they are separately important?
That's a really important question. A lot of people sort of combine them and they think, oh, crypto and blockchain, they're the same thing. In reality, blockchain is, you have to think about it as a new platform. It's a new operating system. And really, crypto is just a use case. It's an example of something that can be done on this new operating system. So when I go back and I go back through my career, the last time I saw a big operating system change was really the internet and online commerce, but I see this as being similar. The internet was also a new operating system. It transformed how business was done across nearly all industries. It cut out middlemen, it reduced cost, and it increased the value for the end consumer. So again, I think the blockchain is the next major operating system. Crypto is simply a use case. And while crypto is interesting, blockchain-enabled finance is by far the more exciting.
There are other players who are in the world of crypto-based exchange-traded products. There are others who are doing blockchain-enabled finance. What is your strength in those two disciplines, and why does it make sense for you strategically?
Again, where I started out, we're in this business of best structured access. Our vision is the digital wrapper is really the next evolution in asset management, that next best structure, and therefore it makes total sense. It's what we do. It's a logical extension of how we operate today. With that, again, as backdrop, our crypto strategy is to bring crypto mainstream. And again, that's about making something hard to access easier. We've actually already broken ground there. We've launched several crypto products and crypto basket products in Europe. Also in the US, we've got a direct index offering. And as we've discussed, we filed for the spot Bitcoin ETF. Important, again, for us, we don't romanticize or villainize crypto. That's not our job. What our job is to provide the research, the client service, and the structure to make something that could be hard to understand, hard to access, hard to trade into something easy. So that's our strategy and approach to crypto. On the more interesting digital assets and blockchain-enabled finance, there our approach and strategy is to bring mainstream exposures, so equities, fixed income, commodities, bring them onto the blockchain and into this new wrapper. And again, that's what we're working to do there. We do feel that ETFs, they're today's best structure. We love them. We believe they're the most consumer-friendly financial innovation of probably the past 30 years. But again, we think that digital is the next innovation, and that's where we're focused. Now, I need to also talk about part of that strategy by virtue of being in digital assets. It puts you into blockchain-enabled finance. And this all comes together in WisdomTree Prime, or digital wallet. And what the digital wallet does is it really erases artificial lines or walls that are today between investing, saving, and spending. So in today's world, if I want to invest, I've got a brokerage account. If I want to save, I've got savings products that sometimes have longer holding periods or limited liquidity. If I want to spend, I might have yet another relationship with a bank or with a credit card or debit card. And when I want to move money from those sort of artificially separated activities, so I want to move money from investing to savings or investing to spending, I actually have to physically move money. And in this blockchain enabled finance world, for example, I can invest in gold if I want to, I can save in gold, but I can also spend the gold because it's now in this digital wrapper. And that change, and I think we talked about this a little bit in August, but that's the most profound part of this. So if I personalize this a little bit, in my brokerage account, I've got cash and it's earning next to nothing. And I have that cash there because maybe I'm lazy or I like the dry powder. If I look at my checking account, I've got more in checking than I need. Again, like my brokerage account, earning next to zero. And I have extra cash there. Again, maybe it's because I'm lazy, but also there's some security in knowing that I'm not going to overdraw. I kind of refer to this as a little bit dumb money. Not that I'm dumb, but the money's kind of dumb. It's like, why is it there earning next to nothing? And in this blockchain enabled finance world, there's no need for dumb cash anymore. So for instance, I can own digital treasuries in my WisdomTree wallet. And if I want to invest, I can immediately use that as my investment, my source of investment funds. I can also immediately use it if I want to spend, yet instead of earning zero on that money, I'm earning over 3%. So that's the biggest change here. And obviously there is direct benefit to myself. So our strategy, again, on crypto is bring crypto mainstream, but on blockchain-enabled finance and digital assets, it's bring the mainstream exposures onto the blockchain. And then our strategy and vision is be a leader in the real change here, which is blockchain-enabled finance.
Let's pause for a couple of minutes for a word from our sponsor. I know that you already enjoy our content from advisor perspectives every day. So why not use our award-winning articles, commentaries, and charts to streamline your communications with clients and prospects? My team and I introduced AP Premium last summer, and we've been blown away by the response from the advisor community. Keep listening for an exclusive code to get $10 off our premium service. You won't find the in-depth, sophisticated market analysis and charts like Advisor Perspectives anywhere else. This information can be invaluable to help your clients understand complex topics. Let's say a client asks a question about their estate plan. Instead of spending time researching and drafting a long-winded response, quickly grab any number of related articles from our library and share it in a personalized way. AP Premium gives you the power to add your logo and a personalized message to any piece of content and share it directly with your clients and prospects. We also introduced a premium offering called the Ask an Expert webinar series. At our inaugural session, we were joined by Wade Pfau for an intimate Q&A. Advisors have told me this is one of their favorite perks of being a premium member, and we can't wait to share who's slated to join us next. Give premium a try and see for yourself why it pays to be a premium member. As always, we appreciate your support of our efforts to bring excellence to financial journalism. And as a thank you, I'm offering a one-time $10 discount for new premium members to be taken off your first monthly or annual payment. Just go to advisorperspectives.com/member. That's advisorperspectives.com/member, and use the code podcast 2022. That's podcast 2022, all caps, at checkout. And now back to our podcast. What did you have to do to get your organization to embrace this whole strategy? I mean, this is a pretty radically different strategy than just about any other asset manager has taken. Did you have to bring in new people? Did you have to, how did you persuade your team that this was the right vision?
Well, it all started really about 4 years ago, where we have an internal strategy group and we asked ourselves a bunch of tough questions. It started with, what could disrupt ETFs the way ETFs have disrupted mutual funds? What's going to be that next disruptive wrapper? What's going to be the next disruptive operating system? And as we thought about it, the answer was digital assets and the advent of blockchain-enabled finance. So since then, we've spent the last 4 years, and you really put your finger on it. We've done a lot of work. We've worked with regulators, as we've shown. We've leveraged our existing team because we're a natural for this. It really fits our approach to the business. But we've also added new talent to the team. We've built blockchain-enabled product. We've developed content and educational material. We've formed partnerships to build a functioning ecosystem. And finally, we've been building the digital wallet where all of this comes together. So there's really been a ton of work. This is all the realization of really a vision that started 4 years ago, and a lot of work that's happened over the last 4 years.
You spoke earlier about that digital wallet and this way that it integrates the savings, the spending, and the investing functions, and makes it transparent and presumably at a much lower cost than conventional institutions. What is WisdomTree Prime? How does that fit in? What do clients need to know to be able to access it?
Well, right now it's in beta, so clients it will have to wait a little while longer to access it. And again, part of that is the functioning ecosystem, building the wallet functionality itself, as well as all the various regulatory approvals that we need to have first. Once launched, it's pretty darn simple. You need to download the wallet, and in that wallet, you'll be able to have a mixture of exposures. You'll be able to have crypto exposures. You'll be able to have securities like the digital Treasury, but we're also looking to launch, and we've already filed for them, 9 additional exposures. So there'll be a whole assortment of digital securities as well as commodities. So, and then it'll be about being able to utilize an environment where those artificial lines are gone, and really uniting investing, savings, and spending is such a value to every individual. I mean, I can't wait to use the thing myself and cure myself of dumb money.
Going back to digital finance and your new exchange trade product that uses the blockchain, what does that offer to the end investor? And talk some more about why you think digital or blockchain enabled finance is the future of the industry.
Well, actually, let me back up and first, because once again, there's great opportunity in it for WisdomTree. and then there's great opportunity in it for the end investor. And it's worth commenting, how does this change asset management, and how does it change things for WisdomTree as an asset manager? And WisdomTree has always been an innovator. WisdomTree launched its first ETF 16 years ago. It innovated things like self-indexing, fundamental weightings. But as creative as we've been, and given that we've been in the business for 16 years, we were 13 years late to the party. And being 13 years late to the party, others had already claimed the deepest beta exposures. What's really interesting here is we're not 13 years late to the party. If anything, we're early to the party, and we have this opportunity to own the deepest exposures in the new wrapper. And if you look at the leaders of mutual funds, I'd give Vanguard all the credit. They were first mover in those low-cost beta exposures. They're 100 times our size at 7 trillion in assets. I'd give BlackRock and iShares credit for really being the first mover in the ETF space. At the end of last year, they had 10 trillion in assets. They were 150 times our size. So we didn't have that opportunity being 13 years late to the party. So one of the exciting things for WisdomTree is being able to lay claim to the deepest exposures in what we feel is the next best structure in asset management. So very exciting. Also exciting for us to be in the blockchain-enabled space, where we're no longer just an asset manager. We're also in savings and spending. So we're WisdomTree plus a whole lot more. So it's very, very exciting for us to be early to this party. For the end investor, I'd say it's equally exciting. In the end, it delivers services to customers faster, cheaper, with better outcomes than they have available today. And just as the internet brought a windfall that benefited customers, we believe that the blockchain-enabled operating system is equally powerful. And we actually expect all financial assets will move to the blockchain infrastructure over time. So digital assets, it already builds upon the things we like about ETFs, the liquidity, the transparency, the standardization, but it also lowers cost. So in lowering costs, you've got a direct impact on after-tax, after-fee returns, and then getting rid of dumb money directly puts money in the consumer's pocket. So, very exciting for us, but it only works if it's exciting for everybody. And I think that this is very compelling for the end consumer as well.
And the reason it lowers costs is because you're effectively disintermediating some of the back office work that has to go on with the record keeping of an exchange traded product, and replacing that with cheaper blockchain enabled technology.
That's absolutely right. And so already, if you look at our digital treasury fund, we launched it at a 0 expense ratio. So it's where the industry is going and can go in a blockchain enabled world.
If there's one key takeaway that you would like to leave with our audience of advisors about blockchain enabled technology and how that will impact the solutions that they'll be able to offer to their clients, what would that be?
It would be to take it seriously, keep an eye on it, but keep an eye on the non-hype aspect of it. So, if you went back many, many years ago, you could have missed ETFs, and you could have been a late adapter to ETFs. And that would have been something that I think people who were late to the game probably feel bad about. That was a new innovation. Probably everyone should have been paying attention. The internet was another one. Even myself, when sort of the internet first came along, I thought it was like another home shopping network kind of thing. But I quickly realized, okay, I'm wrong. This is going to change the way financial services are delivered. I would say here you've got the same setup that ETFs represented, with the digital funds. So watch it. It's a better structure. Keep an eye on it. And the same thing with this new operating system. Keep an eye on it because it's going to improve the way we can do business, and you want to be part of it.
Well, you and I may be of the same generation because I can remember back about 40 years ago seeing the internet for the first time and having some initial skepticism that was quickly erased. We're going to include some links in the notes that accompany this podcast where our listeners can learn more about WisdomTree. There will be a link to WTSY, WisdomTree's digital fund opportunity, and a blog post about it. We'll include a place where you can join the wait list for WisdomTree Prime, which is the digital wallet that Jarrett and his team are offering. And also we'll include a link to my previous podcast with Jarrett. Jarrett, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's just, let's see, it's been 2 months. I want to come back in 2 months and tell you where we've gotten to. It's very exciting.
I will set a reminder in my calendar. Well, thank you for listening to the Gaining Perspective podcast with Bob Hoopshire, today featuring Jarrett Lilien of WisdomTree. To support our podcast, please share, subscribe, or leave a review to help make our podcast more findable for your friends and colleagues. You can subscribe to Gaining Perspective on iTunes, Spotify, and Stitcher.